she was before us, I guess.
Thank you. Good evening. It's Wednesday the 3rd of December 2025 and this is the meeting of the Amenities Committee of Bexhill-on-Sea Town Council. Members of the public and press are welcome to attend. Please note the proceedings of this meeting may be recorded in line with regulations set out in the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulations 2014. I won't say the next bit because there are no members of the public here tonight to address us. Please can members make sure they've turned off their mobile phones during the meeting as it interferes with the radio microphones or in airplane mode. So, agenda item 1, public participation. There are no members of the public here this evening. Go on to agenda item 2, apologies for absence. It's a full turnout, so there's no apology for absence. Agenda item 3, declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. I'll start with the ball rolling with being a member of Rother District Council. Councillor Byrne.
Similarly, a member of Rother District Council.
Any others? No, thank you. Agenda item 4, Chair's announcements. There aren't any. Agenda item 5, minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of October. Any matters for query there, or do we agree that they're correct? Councillor Wilson.
I agree that they're probably a true record, but there are, I think, 3 items on there that aren't on the agenda for tonight, which I have spoken to our clerk about. I just wonder whether I'm able to ask for an update on those. There may not be an update, but being the way my brain works, I like to know what the update is, even if there isn't one. Am I able to ask those questions, please?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be quick. Grass cutting, when we spoke about it and it was resolved to investigate, I'm aware that the conversation was it probably isn't going to change for next financial year. Is there any update on that, please?
It's on the agenda.
Oh.
Item 9.
Yeah, carry on.
Right, okay. Discretionary services, the quotes for pointing the outside of Devonshire Square toilets. That's been floating around for probably 6 months or so, I think. It'd be an easy one just to, if we could find someone to make it look nicer, protect it during the winter. That's all. Water gets in, it creates internal damage.
There's no update.
Presumably we would need approval to do it, whatever we're doing anyway.
Yeah.
We haven't got a lease yet, have we?
I can't see that on the agenda, on the minutes.
00230.
Discretion services.
Oh, right, gotcha.
Quotes
Gotcha.
pointing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just
Okay,
me
there's
then.
no update on that then.
And bus shelters.
Yeah.
We've spoke about and we listed 6 bus shelters that we were going to refurbish. We've done 3. I'm aware that we have to look and work with other partners in that, but I just wondered, I think there's 56 in total, at the rate of 3 every 18 months, it's going to take them for the rest of my life to get them all refurbished. I just wondered what the plan was.
I suppose it's up for us to come up with a plan because we haven't got a plan other than those 6, and obviously on tonight's meeting we've got number 7 being suggested.
Okay. And finally, Norman's Bay Welcome To sign, located, as yet it's noted, so we don't really know where it's going to go. I did come up with a brilliant idea, which is to slightly redesign it and put it on the back of another one to say, thank you for visiting Bexhill.
It is on the agenda tonight. It is noting there's no update, but that would be a good opportunity for you to say that again.
Boom.
13B.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Moving on.
You've had 4 of your 3. Have you got any
No,
others?
that's it. I'm going to shut up now because I've been told I'm wrong twice and I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, can I sign this as a true record of the last meeting, please? Yep. you.
So there was one more.
Oh, there was that's why I turned it over. Thank you. Right, thank you for that. So on to agenda item 6, which is discretionary services. And to note, first of all, that it's not currently possible for the town rangers to remove the graffiti at Norman's Bay public communities because of the training, etc., that would be needed. Now, while that's noting, I would suggest that that came from us, and so if it's not possible for them to do it, we should be considering how we do Norman's Bay toilets. Councillor L.
Should we not also be considering how to start that training for the town rangers?
We'll come on to that. That's yeah.
Mine related to about the future, and when we were discussing town rangers, graffiti was on the list of things that they would look at doing. So rather than saying that we can't do it now, what can we do now to get that ball rolling for the future?
Yep.
There's no money in the staff training budget, so we cannot until there is money in the budget.
Okay, that's disappointing because I thought that that would have been in the...
I think that might be inviting us to put some money in.
Well,
One minute, Councillor Plim, then Councillor Goss.
Is it, what is the specific reasons? I know it's because it's quite general, machinery required, personal protection and training. Is it for graffiti in general, or is it unique to the Norman's Bay situation there?
It's graffiti in general.
In general, right, okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
We can
In which
obviously
ca-
currently. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go on.
Currently, we can remove small bits of graffiti like tags and stuff, but large bits of graffiti we can paint over them. And again, once there's money in the staff training budget, we can do that training. But as of right now, we can't.
Okay, can this committee pass a motion to put money in the staff training budget, or does it go through finance?
There is a report going to the Finance Committee next week to do something that I don't think it's been done at this council before, where environments are done, where underspends and overspends are reallocated to budgets, and one of them is the staff training budget, which will be looked to have funds reallocated to get us through to the end of the year, so it's something we can look at then. And then the staff training budget as of the 1st of April, if the budget goes through for 26-27, has been increased for the coming year, and my narration for that was for additional training for the town managers.
Fantastic.
Councillor Goss.
I thought there was some money in for training of the town rangers, well, in last year's budget, and there is a line item in this year's budget for it, isn't there, as a separate thing from normal staff training, I think.
Not separate, only to increase it to in 26-27 to take into account.
I thought it was in with equipment and that sort of thing. There were lines for town rangers.
Equipment, yes, not.
Not for training. Oh, okay.
Councillor Rowe.
On the terms of training and getting the ball rolling, like Councillor Riston said, it might be a good idea while we're waiting for that budget to be updated for us to think about what kind of training we need to give the town rangers and what jobs they've been asked to do which they can't do because of lack of training, so we can actually start to form a plan towards getting them ready for what they need to do.
I mean, later on we've got an update on the town rangers, but perhaps that's something that we could have on the next update for town rangers, their training needs analysis.
Obviously, staff training does fall under the remit of the town clerk. We do have training plans already in place, we just don't have the money to execute them. I would like to remind the committee that at the previous meeting we did actually receive a quote for graffiti removal for £1,500 plus VAT. That quote, as far as I'm aware, has not expired. So if you did want to action the graffiti, you could approve that costing tonight. As we know, town rangers can't do it.
Councillor Wilson.
When Normans Bay Resident Association came to us expressing their disappointment around what had happened there, they asked, and it was committed to then, and that was probably September, some 3 months ago. I would suggest that we should just, if there is a quote, get it done. It sends out the absolute right message, but also somebody get hold of the Residents Association to say we've spoken about it tonight and this is our plan. Because where previously residents and various organisations get a little bit, let's say, disappointed, it's the communication. We know what we have as a plan, but they don't sometimes, if they don't look at the minutes or watch the videos. So I think somebody needs to contact, and I personally, we have sufficient money in our reserves. We don't have to wait until finance decide to reallocate it. We can just do it.
I think we've got sufficient money in our toilet.
We've got 300 and something thousand in general reserves. We could, and I would be a supporter of that. Just get it done. It sends out the absolute right message.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I like that. I read this as a two-part thing, that we need to sort out the toilets and we need to get the town rangers beginning to train it. So although it's only for noting, I can see us coming up with two things from this. But Councillor Flynn, you...
Yeah, I don't know whether Councillor Wilson's word in there was formed a motion.
It nearly did.
But if it doesn't, can I put forward a motion to say that this committee should pick up the quote that was passed to us and accept it and go ahead? But I need a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Councillor Wilson. Councillor,
I fully support the motion and I'm fully behind it. However, that does show us that the reason we set up the town rangers was to save ourselves money. And we've now ended up, by not being ready for what we need to do, we've now ended up setting up a group of people to do what we need them to do, and then also paying money on top. So I do urge the council, as soon as that budget is fixed, we can allocate it as soon as possible to training and get the training underway as soon as.
I think that could well become a motion in about 10 seconds. Once we've voted on this one, about actually dealing with the quote, going ahead with the quote and repairing the damage in Normans Bay. All those in favour of that motion, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you. And I refer to the clerk here on Councillor L's point of how can we don't have a budget for the town rangers training. How do we go about saying, excuse me, full council, can you please consider?
Yeah, so as the RFO mentioned, there is a report going to finance next week where environment will hopefully be approved, meaning we can move unallocated money into the training budget or underspent into the training budget. So once that's done, it's my decision basically in terms of how and when I train the rangers, and that is very urgent. So once I've got the money to spend, so there's no motion needed.
So,
it's actually
so
for the finance
to do with
committee. But
yeah.
I understand there's no motion needed, but would we, as a committee, be able to strongly recommend to the finance committee that they look into the budget allocation as soon as possible?
You can submit a recommendation that that finance committee approves the environment. Yeah.
There are members here who are on finance as well, so we can.
So is anyone seconding that recommendation that Councillor Klim? All those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't need a motion that Normans Bay Resident Association are kept up to date with progress to
I'll let you know.
Thank you
Mustn't
for
lose
that.
sight of that because they were very disappointed. It's just when I go on about the sign, please, Chair. Talking about Normans Bay.
The sign is
13B.
13B. We're getting there. Getting there. So eager.
Premature ejaculation by Councillor Wilson.
Agenda item 7, update on Bexhill-in-Bloom funding. And that's just a note we've asked for them to update us. But I think they were should be highly recommended for their success. Councillor Wilson.
There was, and I'm not sure if it was full council or somewhere else, the extra plot of land in Marine Gardens that we were going to talk to them. Does that include that in asking for an update?
No.
It doesn't, but I can still have that conversation.
Okay. For the benefit of those who don't know, there's a bit that wasn't, should we say, upgraded when we put some money into the pot as a joint venture, and they're ideally suited with a bit of help.
Councillor.
So does that mean we're going to get, when it says an update has been requested, we'll get an update on what they have done and what they're intending to do with the funding?
Yep, so it's what they've done with the funding we've given them this year and their predicted update for the funding they will receive
Excellent,
in
excellent.
April.
Thank you. Agenda item 8, standby and call out allowance. This was a separate report come to us. I wonder if it's further conversation. Should I ask the RFO to introduce this, please, and the reason behind it? Thank you.
Okay. Basically, this is really just to open the discussion about what we do going forward regarding standby and call out for our assets and facilities. Now, this is potentially something that will not start straight away, something that could start definitely next financial year or part way through next financial year, but it's something that I think we need to look into, because obviously we've had a couple of instances already where there's been issues at Devonshire Square toilets late at night, and one of the members of staff had been called out to go and get the drain people out and whatever to get it sorted, and obviously that's out of normal hours. It is standard in councils of, especially larger town councils where they've got numerous assets, to have a rota of members of staff on standby and on call out. So what would happen is potentially they would get, say you've got 4 members of staff, they'd each do a week each. There needs to be someone that drives. Potentially usually is the maintenance operatives or the outdoor maintenance operatives that are on this rota. And then they would get paid a set amount, say £10 a day, to be on standby, and then if they get called out, they will be on time and a half or double time, depending on days of the week that it happens. Like I say, a lot of larger councils do work it that way. It's built into their contract, which obviously it's not at the moment because we've never had to do it before. Basically, I've put it out there so that it opens the discussion for, and if you're happy to investigate further and put together potentially a standby call-out policy, so that if in the future we recruit new staff, it would be built into their contract, and then obviously we'd have to look at the current members of staff, but obviously that's a staffing thing that would obviously need to go to HR committee as a separate discussion. But it's just obviously, it's something we need to think about as a council that's going to expand with obviously the potential of assets coming down the road from devolution. I think we need to be more proactive and be more prepared for when that happens, rather than waiting for it to happen and then thinking, okay, who's going to sit up at the toilet or community centre at 2 o'clock in the morning, and what's going to happen with that. I know it opens a discussion about whether there's, at the moment, obviously it's any overtime done is in toil, whether that's then paid. But obviously that's something particular for that particular role, not necessarily for office members of staff, but it's more about me asking or putting the report to you to say, are you happy for me to draw something up that's a bit more substantial, and have it potentially in place in the future from the new financial year and when we start getting assets ready. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Prim.
Yeah, I think it's well worth consideration for this. We definitely should be doing it. Now, this is to start from April 2026, but we have people that are being called out at the moment.
Yeah, not very often. It's happened probably once or twice,
exactly.
really.
So is it possible that this committee can agree an allowance now that can be implemented now, so these people are not having to sort of fall into the toil bracket that they actually get a payment?
I think
We've got money in the budget. In
I've got to think that's jumping ahead too far, because I was going to comment that there is no reference in this paper to actually the call out rate. The suggested thing here is £10 for on call, standby, and currently it's toil, time off in lieu. And I like your idea if it could be. No, it wouldn't work for because they're not on call. So I know what you mean.
The time off and lieu situation could cause us problems as we go forward.
Yeah.
And we need to have something in place from now to April in order to sort of pay these individuals that are putting the time and effort to actually rectify issues that have been caused by the general public.
Yeah. Councillor Goss, then Councillor Bruce.
I mean, going by what the RFO has said, it's only happened once or twice in, I don't know, 6 months.
It's obviously since we've taken on the toilets since April,
which has
potentially, because they're the only things at the moment that we would get.
So if it's a proper policy's got to be produced and all the paperwork or whatever. I mean, starting in April sounds like they manage with the odd once or twice. You manage at the moment, presumably with the staff that you've got.
It's predominantly the operations manager that would get called out, and obviously that person lives in Bexhill. It's not too much of a disruptor, but obviously when we do take on more assets, you can't have that one person being the constant on call all the time, which is where we're going to need a rota basis, and obviously that's when you're calling people in from maybe not, or hopefully not as far as I'm coming from, but obviously like other people that are a bit further out, maybe Battle, then obviously we're going to need to look at how we reimburse them for that inconvenience.
Yeah. Councillor Wilson.
I might be slightly different to everyone else. 2 years ago there was a motion that was passed that we would go and get an external company, because it was at a time when we'd just taken Devonshire Square toilets, and our then clerk had her phone number on a notice. When the toilet was refurbished, the notice disappeared, so there is no method of anybody contacting if something goes wrong. I don't think it's right, with only 6 office staff, to even consider having a rota. I think this should go out to a contractor. I'm very uncomfortable about our staff going out at potentially 2 o'clock in the morning to a site where there's something wrong on their own. I think we're putting them at risk, and I think the right way to do it is to go out to tender, to find a contractor. It will cost us more money, but we have to look after our members of staff, and I think it's dangerous for them to go out on their own at night, particularly in winter, and not all of them would be able to solve the problem anyway. So they then have to call a contractor anyway. So what's the point in paying a call out or a standby cost when we'd have to get the contractor to do it? And there was a motion passed that we would investigate, and that was probably coming up 2 years ago, and it never happened. So that would be the way I would prefer it to work, because we've got 6 staff now with very few assets. More assets come down the track. Suddenly, if it's toil, it will be whoever's getting called out possibly wouldn't be in the office from Monday to Friday. As Councillor Klim said, it will have a knock-on effect. And the solution has to be to buy in a multi-trade local company, keep the work local. There are numerous ones around, I can name 2 straight away, who would have anybody for any type of event, be it electric, plumbing or anything. And I don't think it's right that our staff should be put at risk, and I see it as a risk. And if we do agree to this, then that needs to be a risk on our risk register, because we are putting them at risk going out on their own on a evening for a call out. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I very much agree with that, but as you were speaking, I was just thinking, well, at the moment we've got toilets, so it'd be fairly easy to have on the toilets the number of a contractor. But then you said there's multidisciplinary contractors, because I thought as we take on more things, we'll have a different contractor for this. I take your point that our member of staff, all they do is come, look, and then call out a contractor, the right contractor for the problem they've got.
If you have a multi-contractor, they'll be able to deal with it, subject to certain parameters that this committee or operationally could be put in place.
Councillor Byrne, then Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I like Councillor Wilson's idea, but I also think that there's got to be a formal way in which whatever service we contract to have fits in with the way we operate staff in the town council. So, if there's a report being prepared to show how we could operate an on-call system, it should also, alongside, look at the potential costs and the viability of doing the same thing with contractors, and then we could look at both schemes and stack them up and see how they are. I would also say that if we produce a strategy before April, there is no reason why we couldn't implement that on an ad hoc basis, call out by call out, rather than having to wait till April. So if we already know what individual things are going to cost for call outs, we don't have to wait till April, but it is good to have a general strategy of how we'll do it going forward, especially given that we'll have more assets devolved. So certainly produce a report, but looking at both scenarios, in-house call out and external contractors, and it's probably, I think, just looking forward, it'll be a mixture of the two. There'll be somebody on duty whose duty it is to assess and decide which contractor to call out, and that contractor will already know that they are on a retainer or whatever from the town council. So it'll be an all-round strategy. But first of all, I think we just need the strategy to look at both scenarios and compare the costs. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Plymouth and Councillor Ruston.
Do you need a motion from us to formulate that in order for you to work with that? Because I think we're all on the same sort of agreement with what Councillor Wilson is saying.
All I would say is that obviously we already have contractors in place, so we have drainage and plumbing contractors, we have electrical contractors that we use for obviously issues that have already arisen in the issues that have come up in the toilets and such like, and the office and what. So we can look at obviously doing both sides of it and look at a multi-contractor, but obviously I want to be very careful about the contractors that we've already got in place, and the drainage people that we do use are based in Bexhill. They're very, very good, and they've been responsive every time we've had issues, to be fair. And as much as I obviously understand where Councillor Wilson is coming from, we have to be very careful about obviously the contractors we've already got in place. That's all.
And obviously, ultimately, it's an operational decision. So, I mean, the recommendation here to consider implementation of standby and call-out allowance starting April 2020. I would say we all seem to be in agreement with that. Furthermore, if the RFO could consider the contracting out that service and report back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would that be sufficient?
Councillor Ruston.
Very similar to what Councillor Plim said, but excuse my ignorance, but I'm just thinking on call-out, if something happened in a toilet, someone's being called out to then phone somebody else to sort it. So is it prolonging the problem? Because you're paying someone to just decide to call whoever we could potentially have a direct link with anyway. It's just that knock-on effect of being called out in the night to then be out maybe for a few hours to then delay getting back into work because you've been at night, but then that problem won't be fixed till later, till when they're back. So again, in theory, I can see both, but I'm more inclined towards that. Cut out the middleman and see what we can
I
do.
take your point. Currently, right now, what happens is if we call a contractor and say, there's a problem at Devonshire Square toilets or wherever it may be, quite often staff do have to meet them on site. So right now it's kind of already happening where we still have to be there to meet them and explain the issue in a report that we've received. So as of right now, it wouldn't make too much of a difference to how we're already doing it, if that makes sense, because we're already having to go out and meet them on site for them to come and assess the issue and fix it.
It's Councillor L, then Councillor Byrne.
I didn't have my hand up.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Byrne and Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think the idea of staying with the specialist contractors we already have, but tasking a staff member to be the person who takes the initial call and then decides which of those contractors to trigger off to come in, I think that hybrid arrangement is the way it should work. I don't know about a multidiscipline. I think we'd be better to stick with the contractors we've got, because they will also be doing non-call out work for us as time progresses and we do more stuff. So it would be a good idea to have local contractors rather than one multi, because what very often happens, the people who say we do anything, all they do is subcontract it out to someone else, and there's a cost built in there. So if we've got a list of contractors with whom we're very satisfied at the moment, if we go to them and say, would you be happy to be our backup on call out, and here's the way our call outs are going to work, that would seem to be the ideal solution. And as I say, I certainly feel we should do it on an ad hoc basis as soon as we've got that in place, rather than necessarily wait for the budget in April.
Councillor Wilson.
There's lots of ways it could be done, and I'm thinking about the welfare of our staff. And whatever happens, I still cannot vote on something that gets a member of staff going out to a block of toilets somewhere in Bexhill at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I think that's wrong. And I think the easiest way around it, because when somebody goes out there, a contractor, they're not going to have a spare toilet in the back of their van probably to fix it there and then. All they're going to do is turn the water off and then meet a member of staff there the next day or as soon as possible. So to me, if there was a plaque with, if it's a water issue, phone this number, if there's an electrical, you phone that number, and then the members of the public phone those two numbers and they go through to either the plumbing or the electrics. There wouldn't be anything else really that is an emergency. But I think we've just got to avoid our team going out, and I was mortified and couldn't believe that somebody went out there at like 11 o'clock through to 2 o'clock in the morning. They're not qualified. What could they have done? Probably just turn the water off, but not everyone could do that. So I think we just need a plaque there to say phone this number. In the short term, you could put a number there which is on a rotational basis, and you have another mobile and it's passed week by week and they're in their own home, and then they could divert it as a triage type system.
Councillor Byrne, then Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Chair. Totally agree with Councillor Wilson's concern on the staff. I would imagine our staff member being a coordinator. I think for a member of the public to decide on their own mind and to actually initiate the call with our preferred contractor, there's all sorts of things that could fall down the crack there. It could be a member of the public thinking that something is wrong when it isn't. You know, the lights have been left on in so-and-so. We might have already decided it's cheaper to leave it on a time switch or whatever. So I think the call initially should come to a member of our staff. But no, that member of staff won't immediately go out on site, and in fact may definitely not go out on site. They will merely decide who the appropriate contractor is, and the dialogue about fixing it will be between our member of staff and the contractor.
So they would
then we know what we're contracting them to do and what we will sanction. Thank you.
Councillor Alden.
I agree with Councillor Byrne. I don't think it's a very good idea for the member of the public to pick up a phone and call, because that could lead to numerous call outs and numerous bills that wouldn't have been necessary in the first place. However, again, here I do see another opportunity for the town rangers to step in, where they would know where the water cut-off is, they would know where the electrical cut-off is. They should be the first port of call. If there's 3 or 4 of them, then that rota should be dealt with quite easily, and they should be the first port of call, unless it has to be operations and it has to be either an RFO or a clerk or anyone from the office. But I would prefer for it to be the town ranger job.
Councillor Goss.
I tend to agree with that. And also note that the toilets are only open between 8 and 6. That's the time you're likely to get a problem, because otherwise there won't be anybody in there to see the problem anyway if there is one. So it's not as though people have to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning generally, I wouldn't have thought.
So I'm getting the feeling from this that, and I very much agree with Councillor Wilson, that we're going to have a halfway house here, that we want the RFO to look at having a standby system for a start. That's the first thing. And the call out may only just be a phone call, and I very much like this. They don't come out,
No.
they call the contractor could then say, meet us there. Yes, I'll meet you there when you got there. So there's at least two of us there. So I've got a feeling we're almost solving this in a way of having, by looking at a call out and standby call out, but how that would deliver it, because using our existing contractors, providing they do out of office. But I take very much your point that most of them would be turn it off or lock the door, and they'll come back in the morning.
Yeah.
But that still shouldn't, because obviously then the next bit is a lone working risk assessment for being out in the town centre at some unearthly hour. So, Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think we're in danger of trying to design a service here, which is an operational matter, but I think the matters we've raised hopefully will inform that design of the service. So I think the motion should be to ask our clerk, in cooperation with our RFO, to come up with a service plan that takes notes of the comments we've made about loan working, about risk assessments, and about multi-contracts, and then come back to us with a report. We can then look at it in respect to the points we've made and see whether we like it.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, good man, if you've written something down.
Across your face, I think.
Good man.
Right, all those in favour of that, please show. Thank you, that's unanimous. I should have just said you're happy with that before we said yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and they'll come back here.
Yes, never expect me to remember what I've said.
Yeah, that's why it's
So
filmed.
in the meantime, while that's going on, Chair, we have a risk that we could have an incident tomorrow. So are we able to come up with a methodology of remunerating somebody, whoever that is, until we've got something in place?
For the few things.
I'll just let the clerk answer that one before we do anything else.
That is why I put the term ad hoc in there.
Love the enthusiasm. That would be a Finance and Audit Committee decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm sure you could put in a recommendation.
But it's also, well, I was going to say, but it's also, it's sort of operational as well. So if it happened now and it happened to the same member of staff 5 times in the next week, presumably you'd be going to somebody saying, could we please have a honorarium or ad hoc payment for this member of staff who's been very unlucky? Sorry, you were good.
Oh, well, only I was going to say, at the moment, for the very few call-outs there are for what we've got, operationally they've got it working. One person does it, however, presumably there's no way of being contacted out of hours anyway, because there's no phone numbers up anywhere.
By contractors. So if, say, our cleaner went into the toilet and noticed an issue or a bit of vandalism, they would contact us,
Yeah, yeah.
not by members of the public.
No. So, I mean, until the report comes out and the options are made, carry on as you are, because you seem to be handling it all.
Okay. Agenda item 9, grass verge cutting. To receive an update on investigations for 27-28.
Yeah, so we've been investigating since the last meeting actually. It's quite a big piece of work. Unfortunately, there is no way that we can build it into this year's budget, given, we would need to find a contractor. And there's just various other things. I think that what we're investigating at the moment for next year is a possible agreement, obviously with the council's consent, with East Sussex. As of right now, unless you have a formal agreement or you own the verge, you cannot cut your own verge. It has to go to East Sussex. I've contacted all of the town councils in East Sussex to see if they own their verges, how they contract it out. So yeah, it's a massive piece of work. It's well underway. It's not something we can achieve this financial year, as the deadline for grass cutting has now passed. But probably at the next meeting we will be looking at the possibility of entering into some sort of agreement with East Sussex in regards to which verges we can cut and then get quotes for that.
Thank you.
I think it's fair to say, Chair, that when we spoke about it, I don't think any of us were expecting those changes for next financial year, because I think we knew it needs a bit of digging around.
Right, thank you. So, item 10, community safety matters. This is on the potential new CCTV over the next 3 years, but there is an update. I think we've now actually had the quote for the 2 new CCTV cameras in Edgerton Park.
Yeah, we've had the quotation. We met with Chromavision at Edgerton Park. The Edgerton Park side of it is more complicated because of getting power supply to additional columns and the like within the park area. But there was obviously a discussion regarding one of the sports clubs at the Polgrove side of it, with vandalism and such. They looked at possibilities. They've given me a quotation. I'm reluctant to speak on it due to the fact that we need to now go back to that club and speak to them about whether they're happy with what Chromavision are potentially looking to do on that site, because obviously there's 2 clubs that are very close together, and obviously we need to sit down with both of them, because to have the protection that both the clubs need, it needs to be positioned on both buildings potentially, and how that's going to work. And I'd rather do that, if that's okay with the committee, have a meeting with them first, because if they sit there and go, actually no, we're not interested, we don't want anything done on our building or such like, it's waste of discussion time here with you guys discussing something that they may not be willing to go down the road of. So we have a quotation, and also briefly regarding other CCTV issues that have come up in the past regarding the 9 cameras that we have that we're responsible for. From my understanding, all of the upgrades of them cameras have now been undertaken. The last 2 were done recently, which was a resolution of the Asset Transfer Committee back in 2024, way before my time. So as a potential to that, that's obviously going to now impact the budget, so I'm able to reduce some of that budget line out, because there was quite a considerable amount of money in there, 30,000, which is no longer going to be needed. We just have to pay for the electric for the 9 cameras. So that budget will go down. So yeah, and I've emailed them to say, okay, well, when will the next load of upgrades need to be thought about, and I'm waiting for them to come back to me. They're not very speedy. So is that okay?
Yeah, can I just clarify, because I thought it earlier. So the idea was for 2 in Edgerton, but there's a problem with putting a second one in Edgerton.
Just to
you
correct
can put
you,
1.
the motion was up to 2.
Up to 2.
Subject to the advice of people who understand
Right.
CCTV.
So are we talking now completely Polgrove?
Yes.
Right. And presumably the bowls clubs. Yeah. I declare an interest here. I'm chairman and captain of Bexhill Bowling Club. But I hope you won't be speaking to me. But yeah, so it is now Polgrove rather than Edgerton. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. With meeting with Chromavision, when we spoke about additional cameras within the park area, I know there was a very obscure number that was thrown around of how many cameras there was in Edgerton Park. I don't think there's 31 cameras in there.
No.
And they said the cameras that are in there are fine. To put any more in, you're going to need an additional poles with all of the swivel stuff on it, which obviously that in itself is going to be one major piece of work and a major piece of expenditure because of the power supply that they're going to need to run to it. We can look into it, but at the time he was reluctant to go any further with that without, obviously we're going to need to speak to the buildings around it, whether we can run further power off of that to do that. So that's why also we'd had the clerk had received some information regarding the Bowls Club and vandalism there and what we could do or what the possibilities are, which is why that was kind of tagged into that meeting. And like I said, I'd rather meet with the 2 clubs in hand to speak to them before we discuss any further on it.
Councillor Plim, then Councillor Goss.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned that we've moved from cameras in Edgerton Park, which were designed to survey the wildlife there, because the wildlife was going through some attacks. And this motion came about as a member of the public addressed the committee, and her specific concern was Edgerton Park and the wildlife. I was unaware that there were cameras surveilling the wildlife there at all. Perhaps that needs to be relayed to the individual that raised these concerns initially, in order to alleviate her concerns there, because otherwise it looks as if we've totally ignored the members of the public's concerned and then moved over to a totally different area, which, from what I can understand, there has been no issues raised regarding CCTV and no request for CCTV. So we could be spending money out on an area that it's not needed.
There was a request received by one of the clubs about vandalism, especially getting into the darker months. That request started before my time, so it's sort of something that I picked up.
That hasn't come through any of the committees.
No.
So we're totally unaware of that.
Councillor Goss, and I'll...
Yeah, I was just going to go on Edgerton. I mean, I didn't realise there were cameras. I thought they were asking for cameras because there weren't any there.
Yeah.
Do we know how many they've got there and where they report to, what they do?
We were told in a meeting that there were 31 cameras in Edgerton Park.
Jeepers. Linked to the police or to something else?
To the police, yeah.
Linked? Really?
That's what we were told. We've asked for written confirmation and have not received any written confirmation of there actually being 31 cameras.
And none of those can be adjusted to cover enough of the bowls club or whatever access.
I mean, the idea that what we were sort of told was they couldn't disclose actually where the cameras were, as it would compromise the security of them. But yeah, we were told in a meeting that there were 31 cameras in Edgerton Park itself, and there was no need to add any others.
I think we might have a competition coming up. Councillor Wilson.
So, I'm very confused, because really there's three issues with CCTV. One is the motion that I put forward that all CCTV in the town should be reviewed in a 3-year period, and we're over a year through that, and that hasn't started yet completely. Excuse me. I've heard the number 31, and if you look at Edgerton Park, you've got the museum that I know have CCTV, the Indoor have CCTV, but I don't believe that any of them point towards Edgerton Park. And the motion that was passed by this council was to investigate the option of installing up to 2 purposefully for the pond. So suddenly we've merged it into, and I agree with Councillor Plym, I've not seen any evidence from any other club in Edgerton Park or the Polegrove asking for help from the town council. So if that's what's required, we have to debate that, I believe, and a motion put forward, etc., etc. I am a little surprised, because you could come up with any sort of area in Bexhill where there is potential damage being done every single day. Having a CCTV camera there doesn't prevent that damage. It just makes people aware that they might have their photograph taken. It doesn't stop it. So I think 10A has morphed from one big action to review everything to try and encompass a motion that's already passed, and then having a bolt-on bit, and it's become all-encompassing. And to resolve CCTV, I think we've got to split it down into 3 separate sections, otherwise it'll just be too big to deal with.
Thank you. Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Chair. I understand the police's reluctance to disclose exactly where the cameras are, but I think it would be reasonable, given Councillor Plym's point, to ask them, do they feel that their current cameras provide sufficient coverage to detect any interference with the swans or ducks or the wildlife that was being interfered with. So I think if we ask them and just get a yes or no without asking them where the cameras are, that would be a reasonable thing to do.
That was something that we asked, and they said they didn't feel we needed any more because
They couldn't even tell us
Right.
about the coverage.
I disagree with you
okay.
because I think that's an insult that the police cannot trust a town council with information. I think that's terrible. They should be sharing that with us, the representatives of local people. But I take Councillor Wilson's point that perhaps future this needs to be broken up back into its constituent parts. Edgerton Park, I think we can have a spot the camera competition to see if we can find 31, but that was specifically for the wildlife. I presume they've looked at the cafe as a possibility because that looks both ponds, as it were, and I think we need to discuss Polegrove from the word go. Yeah. Not least of all, because although you can talk to the clubs, I know they have still not signed the leases from Rother, so they still can't put anything on their clubs without permission from Rother. Councillor,
I'm just surprised with 31 cameras in the park. There's no footage of these rascals vandalising the park and the terrorising the wildlife there. Obviously, the cameras are not working or are not any good at all. I've got a feeling that they're probably internal cameras that are surveilling the particular buildings that are there and not the actual park. They're obviously not on our suite of cameras, and so the 9 that we've currently got, that we're paying for, they don't fall into that bracket. So we wouldn't have any information coming from them ourselves at all. But I still am a bit flummoxed that we're looking at the Polegrove whilst we were supposed to be looking at protecting the wildlife in Edgerton Park. We need to sort of come back a bit and sort of say, right, okay, let's start this again. Let's look what we were actually asked to do. Are we achieving what we asked to do? No, we're not. Because the member of the public came here specifically to this council with an issue, was raised at this council, and we said, yes, we'll take that on. And we're not taking it on at all. We're ignoring it and going somewhere else. And I think that doesn't put us in a good light at all.
I mean, I'll come to Councillor L, but that would be different if we had reports saying it is impossible to put any cameras in Edgerton Park, because that's slightly different.
Yes, then we can
at least we've got the answer.
Yeah. Sorry, we can't.
Councillor L.
Bit of a two-part question here, and excuse me if I misspeak, I'm trying to break it all down in my mind as well and work it out. Do we have email confirmation from the police that suggests that we do not need any more cameras?
No, and that is something that we have asked for.
So was that just in a meeting verbally?
Yeah, that was in a face-to-face meeting.
Okay, so we're not, because any kind of camera that would be installed again would again be directed back to the police, so we still wouldn't have any control over it. Not that we want any control over it, but if they're saying that there's sufficient cameras at the moment, then there should be some footage of what has happened in the past. So they should be able to deal with it, so there shouldn't really be a problem. We should be able to say to the public, police say fine, they've got the footage, they've got cameras at that point there. If we can't get in that in email confirmation, then we have a problem on how we deal with this. But either way, we're a little bit stuck because we are dealing with the police and we need to deal with the police in the future. So that, in my mind, just becomes a little bit cloudy.
Councillor Wilson and Councillor Goss.
We've clearly got some very intelligent wildlife in Bexhill, because since the episode happened, I'm not aware of any other episodes happening. So maybe they found out where these 31 CCTV cameras are and don't go to Edgerton Park. That said, almost tongue-in-cheek, it does suggest whatever we do, we should do the motion that I put forward over a year ago, over a 3-year period, because until we know where they all are, where the police say they are best placed, I'm not qualified to know where one should be in the Polegrove, because I'm not experienced in that. And unless we get the police on board to sit down and say, is that in the right place? Do we need any more? And that's what part of my review, in accordance with the Chamber, Bragg, PCSOs, police, etc. I don't think it's right to just say yes or no. The police say you don't need any more. I don't think there's one of our 9 CCTVs in the Polgrove. Because I can remember the list of the 9 addresses, and I don't remember there being one in the Polgrove. So the 31 are, they could even be Ring doorbells, they could be anything like that. That's not necessarily right. So I think we've got to unravel it, start it again, and potentially bring through the workflow of what our clerk has, and finding a way of bringing that up the pecking order to do all of the CCTV, which is what my motion was. And then within that, if it falls out that the police say we need one in the Polgrove, then we'll build that into the whatever the project plan is. But just for somebody to say, be it a club of some sort in the Polgrove, we need a CCTV, how do they know that? Because they're not qualified. So we've got to do the groundwork first, engage with the police, come up with a plan, and then present that plan back. And just because Chromovision say, oh, you don't need one to look after the wildlife because it's too expensive, well, actually it's down to us to decide whether we want to put one in Edgerton Park, and the cost of running an electricity supply would then be down to us, not down to whether it's the right thing to do.
Well, the swans came back last week, so there's 2 swans down in Edgerton Park. Councillor Goff.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Wilson. The only thing is, anything, or 31 cameras in Edgerton Park, presumably are owned and run by RDC. I mean, we took over the town cameras, RDC own the park. Do they know what's going on?
I have a feeling, as has already been referred to, that includes the museum cameras, the indoor park the indoor bowls club cameras. I'm not aware. I mean, there might even be. I mean, because we'd probably say now we'd want one on the toilets, but I'm not aware of whether. And I've got a feeling, to take the first bit, we've got to write to the police again and say, look, we need a meeting where you actually tell us. I mean, even if you hand us a copy and make us destroy it afterwards.
If they just say that, well, they're all internal inside the buildings, well, we know where we're coming from, and we're not looking for anything there. I can't see why a camera can't be attached to the cafe, to the museum or whatever, to look over the pond areas.
There's got to be some
So
options, but we don't know what they are.
That review is underway, but I think we need to reinforce it and say, look, we still need to talk about this because we don't know where these cameras are and where they should be, and that was the important bit, is where they should be.
Yep.
And separate to that, sorry, I'll come to you, Councillor, and then separate to that, Edgerton Park was specifically for the wildlife.
Yep.
We still need to address that. Now, if Chromovision or whatever say there is nowhere to put it, there can be nowhere to put it, the cafe say no, the museum says no, then that's something else. We've got a definite no, we can't. We've investigated it. What we seem to have done is investigate it. The police have told us, no, you don't need it. We've got 31. And it's coincided with probably my bowls club, because I know they had problems last year, and in fact rather cut down a tree that was right next to the clubhouse that people were using to climb on the roof. So I think it probably was Bexhill Bowling Club. It's coincided that they've asked at the same time, and we've diverted without the members saying, yes, take a look at Polgrove. But it might be that the Polgrove comes up in the review, and it might well be that the police or whatever say, you need one in the Polgrove. Well, that we will then consider as part of that review, not as a separate item. So sorry to go on a bit. Councillor L, then Councillor Bloom.
I believe what Councillor Wilson said about groundwork is the most important thing here, because we are talking about a park. So yes, I agree with the wildlife side as well, but you're also looking at a space that a lot of children go out to play, where children can go missing, where you really need the CCTV, and you'd need it quickly, and you need access to it quickly. You've just said, Chair, the police have said, no, you don't need it, but we don't actually know if they've said that. I mean, we're in a very difficult position here where we're sitting on a town council judging whether we actually know what the police have said or what they haven't. Was it true? Was it not? Are we being lied to? Are we not? We need that groundwork. I'd like to put a motion forward to do that groundwork first, to get back to the police, to ask them plainly and openly, do we require any more seeds? We don't want to know where they are, if we don't have to, if we're not allowed to, but can we please be told whether we need it to see every inch of the Palgrove in case of any Edgerton, apologies, Edgerton, in case we need to.
Councillor Plym and Councillor Byrne. Councillor Plym.
Yeah, I'm just reading through this, and basically this is to note the review of the existing and potentially new CCTV over the 3-year collaboration with East Sussex, local Chamber of Commerce, Bragg and possibly other interested parties is underway. We know that's underway, it's taking place. Officers met with Chroma Vision and the possibility of installing 2 new CCTV cameras in Edgerton Park are currently awaiting a quote. We understand the sensitivity of the actual quote that's been given to us. So 2 parts of what we're actually asking for are underway. So we should be happy with that. However, this mysterious notion that 2 cameras are going into Palgrove, we haven't discussed it, we haven't agreed to that, and so therefore we can't acknowledge or agree when that comes out of the review. It might come out of the review, I don't know. But at the moment, I think the RFO and the clerk have heard what we've got to say about the subject, and so really we should move on now.
I was going to say, I think this comes under.
Place.
Can we have a bit more information, please?
Yeah.
And preferably in writing from the police, so that we know exactly where we stand. I don't think that needs a motion as such, especially as it was only noting, and we've noted it and told you what we thought. Sorry.
Could I ask,
Chair,
this will be on here for some time, I suspect, where it says over the next 3 years, if people looked at that, they would think it's the next 3 years from now. Could the date be added in there as the date of my motion, so we can keep a control over it as such? Because otherwise it's always going to be over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
He spotted the coming plan.
Jam tomorrow.
Got that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, Town Accessibility Working Group. I've asked today if the clerk, because I've had no update, because at the last meeting I replaced Councillor Blagrove, and I'm just wanting to make sure that no one's had a secret meeting and not invited me. Because I don't think there's been a meeting.
So, if it helps, I went on there for a while, 3 months, and I had 2 meetings, and somebody has to drive that working group.
Right, okay.
Otherwise...
Thank you. Those lines have been read between Councillor
I was going to say, wasn't John Lee driving it? I know he's away at the moment.
And we actually wish him a speedy recovery as well.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
No deal.
Okay, so there isn't an update on that. Bus shelters. To note, quotes are being sought for the installation of Pebsham Lane bus shelter. I refer to the clerk now, who can tell you at least we know where in Pebsham Lane.
Yay. Yeah, we do. We're just seeking quotes on the actual refurbishment, so we will get back to you shortly.
there was a request, I believe, for a second one in Pebsham.
There was actually a request to Councillor Plym, I believe it was a motion driven by yourself, to look into the refurbishment of other bus shelters in Pebsham. That's also underway, but we thought we'd start with the quote for the one that was originally requested and then begin looking at the existing ones. So it is all underway. But
I've got a feeling it was other bus shelters rather than the locality in general.
Just in,
As Councillor Wilson pointed out earlier on, we've got a number of bus shelters now, some of which over the years have disappeared and have never returned. And we are now responsible for these bus stops or shelters. Some of them are quite historic and really need some proper maintenance and loving care and attention. Others are quite modern and are quite sort of easy to maintain and vibrant with repainting and things. And we seem to have gone through a sort of a mix and match sort of spread of things. But that's how it is, because these bus shelters are mix and match. They're not standard formation anywhere in the town. And the one outside the town hall, I realised the other day, got some really slating remarks by some councillors, but I think it's perfectly okay. It does the job. It keeps people dry, and it's anti-graffiti, and so that's what it looks like. And I'm sure if we had a whole host of bus shelters up and down along there, replicating that shelter, it would probably look a nice tidy town. Because at the moment, we've got one on here at the moment, later on about a bus shelter from Councillor Wilson in Terminus Road.
Yeah.
There's probably several in London Road as well of the same sort of situation covered in graffiti. And so I think we need some sort of programme of refurbishment and re-establishment of bus shelters, because over the years, as I said, some of them have just totally disappeared.
Councillor Goss.
There was a request for a new shelter somewhere, Pepsham area. I'm not sure if it's Pepsham Lane.
Yeah, that's
that was the one.
That's the one that we've
Oh, is
managed
it?
to find.
And you found a location, because it
Yeah.
was the location suggested was outside somebody's house, where I can imagine they're going to love the view.
A bit of for context, the bit of correspondence I received was, I think it was a post-it note
That's
about that big, and it said, "Can we have a bus shelter in Pebsham?" So it's taken a lot of investigating to find the area. I did manage to get hold of the person, and they did confirm the area that they would like it. So
Well, you did say
That's the
outside
one.
number such and such, I think, didn't it,
I
on
think
the
it was
request?
literally just, "Can we have something
Oh,
like,
yeah,
can
I
we
think
have
the
a bus
numbers
shelter
was
in
us looking at the
Pebsham?"
bus stops on a map and going,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we had to
because
look
which
at
one do they
every
want to
single-
show?
I looked at it on Google, what's driving down there, and where it seemed to be wanted to go, as I say, was close to somebody's driveway and right outside their windows, sort of thing. And I thought, I don't know who's asking for it. Presumably somebody who uses a bus, but the occupant may not be too ecstatic.
Yeah, that is something
There's
that
a
we'll
bus
have
stop
to
there already, so
consider.
there's nothing to do about it really.
Councillor
We
Wilson.
just provide shelter.
I'm sure I remember a request from a district councillor asking us for one as well.
That's
That's
the
that is
same one.
The request,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, it was handwritten about 3 weeks after we took over the bus stops from the district council.
And bus shelters in general, I mean, we are working through them all, I want to pick up your point.
Yeah.
And I don't know it, well, we'll come to that when we talk to this Councillor Wilson's motion, but
Can I just ask them, where is it?
Do we want to announce that on film? in case the person
If it's
is
got an
aware?
address on it, I won't
No.
announce. I won't announce any personal.
Could I add a couple of points on bus stops? Bexhill Heritage have started one of them, because I've seen a man on social media having his cup of tea and making great progress with it.
is that
So-
the one at First Avenue?
Yeah, I don't know where it was, but there's two. There's one in Delaware Road and one in First Avenue that they're doing, I believe. And I concur with Councillor Pym. I was really disappointed that certain councillors criticised the one in Town Hall Square, because I think it's absolutely appropriate for that area. So, and it just goes to show that whatever we try and do to make our town better, there's always going to be somebody, and it is disappointing when it's one of our own, but it's personal preference. I'm not keen on pretty flowers, but it does the job of stopping other things being done to those.
It is outside a personal address, so I won't share the details. But I have just seen, which I guess will go on the next agenda, another bit of correspondence about a bus shelter outside Pebsham Community Centre. So I will bring that to you.
For
There is one there.
No, to there's
Possibly
a bit of damage.
refurbishing it.
Oh, the
Yeah, I
panels.
was going to say there is
Yeah,
one.
so I'll look into that and update you, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, we found it. So.
Agenda item 13, Highways Matters. On A, to note that East Sussex Highways have been contacted about the installation of rubber curb ramps, and we're waiting for a response.
I don't know the answer to that.
13B, one for Councillor Wilson. To note, no alternative locations for the sign that used to be in Norman's Bay to be relocated yet, as yet.
So when I was in the offices, I had this brilliant idea of just removing some words out of it and putting it on the alternative side, either on out or in, to say, thanks for visiting. Because otherwise we're never going to use it and we'll throw it away.
I personally, I've sat in next to the sign in the office again today and said it's lovely, but it shouldn't be in the office.
No.
So if that was a way of using it, if we honestly can't find anywhere to do, I mean, I thought there seems to be a gap, Mount View Road coming in from North East Bexhill, but apparently nightmare trying to get those posts anywhere near there and get permission for that. Councillor Ruston.
I was going to say, I know I've had the joy of sitting next to that sign as well, but I'm telling you now, there is someone in this town that would buy that sign. And I would also like to propose here that if we are unable to use it, that we find a way of flogging it off and donating the proceeds to the Mayor's charity of that year.
Auction at the Mayor's Ball.
I like that.
There are plenty of online auction systems we can use. I can help you with that. But why not?
Great idea.
Good idea. If we can't find anything, I think that's a very good idea, although it has got several screw holes in it. Councillor Byrne.
Slightly worried that it is an official town council sign, so I think we'd have to have some sort of hold over, if someone buys it, they're going to have to ask our permission to put it where they want to put it.
That's up to them now.
Yeah,
Can't really put it in their front garden, or
But at the moment, we're still at this stage
or
of...
take the town council logo off it, and it just says Bexhill. That's fine.
At the moment, we're still at the looking for alternatives. Is there, if there is an alternative place or an alternative use to follow Councillor Wilson's...
You're not having it in your restaurant.
Could I ask subsequent to that as well, please? I don't remember there being one on the whatever the new road is called before the new roundabout.
That's what I started to say today.
Because there used to be one.
Anywhere
Had
there.
It's too near the roundabout. So that's the only entrance
Yeah.
now that we don't have a sign.
Yeah.
Can I? Yeah, that's exactly what the purpose of that sign should be. It's to put on the boundaries.
Yeah.
And that was the westerly boundary of the very few roads that come in and out of Bexhill. There's very few. That was one area that was the thing that the people at Norman's Bay liked the idea of a sign there.
So do we have one?
But I
on
think...
Valley Way then?
No, I think that highways of...
They said
Well,
no.
I'll leave the clerk, but I don't think
It
this
just was not.
Okay.
wasn't
It
met
just
with
wasn't possible,
glee.
I'm afraid.
Okay.
Right, item 14, Town Rangers, an update of the work.
I've brought some pictures with me for you to pass around and have a look at. You can tell I'm absolutely over the moon about all of this. Some of them are befores, so don't look at them and go, "Oh, that's horrid." They're the befores.
I hope we can tell the difference.
And I have. So obviously a lot of what the Town Rangers do is on a rolling weekly basis. But some of the stuff that they've been up to since our last meeting was they have repainted and redecorated the Channel East toilets, which were in horrendous condition. Councillor Plym was actually at the reopening of them. They generally clean the town, every ward, and that is on a daily basis. And while they're on patrol, if a member of the public comes up to them and goes, "Oh, this is really bad, this is unsafe," they will look into it as and when. So they quite often deal with things as soon as they're reported while out on patrol. They've been removing and cleaning small bits of graffiti, the bits that they can do. And they repainted the bus shelter at Manor Barn, which was quite badly vandalised, not in the best condition. They have cleared loads of Twittons around the town. They've done an amazing job on the allotments, especially Preston Road. It looks fantastic compared to what it did. We did an allotment site visit actually a couple of years ago. Councillor Plym, I remember you were there. You wouldn't even recognise it now with the work that the Town Rangers have done on it. And they've addressed some criminal damage, and they're investigating how to repair the criminal damage done to the bus shelter in Gunter's Lane, which has a massive hole in it, a human-sized hole. You don't know where it's come
Where
from.
was it?
Gunter's Lane,
Lane, up by the academy.
the old wooden one,
Oh, right.
massive hole in it. So they're addressing how they can fix that at the moment.
Could we get the photographs round?
I'm sorry, Paul.
Yeah,
That's what they came to.
it's all right. You won't want the one with Councillor Plim on it.
I think
that on the bottom.
that particular one has got historic significance as well, because there's a plaque inside to Councillor Pycroft's wife.
Yeah,
And he was mayor in the 1930s, I think, or 40s.
yeah. It's a really nice bus shelter, really nice. So they're looking at how they can fix it up.
That was before.
Yeah, it's a shame that these things happen, but the town rangers have been so good at responding to all of it. I mean, the city toilets we did first looks fantastic. The feedback that we've received, every time I have a conversation with a stakeholder, whether it be RDC, the neighbourhood board, shop owners, anyone, the feedback that we've received on the town rangers has been great. We had a meeting with Dr. Kieran Mullen, the MP, on Monday, and he mentioned that he knew Louis, the town ranger, because of all the amazing things that he's heard about what Louis's done in Sidley. So they're really, really building up quite a good reputation. And yeah, we're very, very happy with them.
Good. Councillor Bell.
I was just going to say that I think that ought to go in the minutes, that we applaud the work, not only the work, but the initiative of doing the things that the town needed doing. It's not as if we had a programme and we're operationally managing them. The manager of that team is spotting things that he feels needs doing, and the feedback we're getting from the public is that he's getting it right. So, yeah, I think we should certainly minute the fact that, I'd be happy to minute the fact that we appreciate the work of the town rangers and its effectiveness.
Yeah.
And soon we'll be removing loads of graffiti as well, by the sounds of it.
Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, the photographs are great. Allotments aren't on our agenda tonight. So there's a massive, great big space there on the allotments. Great to clear it, but we need to get them used by residents, because otherwise we'll just be paying a town ranger once a month in the summer to go out there and trim it all. The allotments are meant to be for. So I'd like to see. It's good. Everything I hear is really positive about the rangers, and I've always been a supporter of them. But we ought to now be thinking about a monthly report to us rather than it being verbalised, so we can see and evidence it. I think.
Just on that note, a plan on how we can promote the allotments is underway.
Okay.
Because we would really love to see them fill up.
That's good to hear, because now's the time to promote it, because March that will start growing rapidly. So now's the time to promote it. Now it's clear.
Thank you.
Oh, can I just add,
Yep.
Chair, when we went to the leaders' meeting at Rother, we again explained, and there was some really positive feedback from that table as well. So the word is getting out there of the positive work that they're doing. So
Thank you. Right, 15, grit bins. A, to note that grit bin has been ordered for Martin's Way and Singleton Walk. 16, the renewal of the bridge on Round Acre Way. This is to note that we haven't started investigations yet because of the current workload. I think there might be a problem with whose it is. I'm sure it's a footpath and it's East Sussex, but I don't think it's something we can do. But we haven't started that yet because of the workload. 17. Sorry.
If I can just expand on that subject slightly. Do we know whether East Sussex are going to devolve down the highways and byways, not highways and byways, but the footpaths to us to maintain?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Because I believe that is a discretionary service, but they've not really sort of.
No, we've had no updates on that front yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Agenda item 17, motions from councillors. Councillor Wilson, to consider the refurbishment of the bus stop in Terminus Road.
thank you, Chair. I was at an event in my ward that was done by the Rotary, and I was called over by two residents who live opposite this bus stop, and they said, when are you going to refurbish it? It's in a terrible condition, it needs a bit of love and care. So I said, I've no idea, we have a programme of works, and I knew that we'd agreed the order of 6, and I believe we've done 3, with 2 more ongoing with the collaboration with Bexhill Heritage. So I'm just asking, because I've been asked by a member of the public, can that be the 7th one, please? Nothing more, nothing less.
I'm just going to query, because I think there's 2 in terms of, are we talking the one by Sackville Roundabout, the Breeze Block one, or isn't there one on the corner of Sutherland?
Yes.
Is that still terminus? Is that the one?
I believe it's near, she did try and explain it to me, what's the antique place?
Civius. Oh, that one in the middle.
Civius.
In the middle of the 2 I just said. Yeah,
Yes.
there is a 3rd one opposite the doctor's surgery.
It's that one.
Outside Bexhill West Station.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they live in the flats next to the doctor's surgery there.
Right.
So it's only right and proper that I should raise it because I've been asked
Yeah.
by a member of the public.
Yeah.
So I'd like that to be made 7th, please, unless anyone has any firm objections to that.
No, I think perhaps at the next meeting we should perhaps consider what comes 8, 9 and 10.
It's a good way of showing to residents that we are listening to
We've
what
got
they're
that in
saying.
the budget, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I pointed out earlier on, that there's several in London Road that they actually the graffiti on them looks identical to the one that you're referring to there. And there was one opposite the town hall itself in London Road, which has just totally disappeared. The bus stop is still there, and there's a lovely new bus stop there, but the shelter just went.
So, do you mind? Sorry. The RFO has just told me that the Rangers are currently going around doing a check of every single bus shelter in the town to prioritise which ones need doing. So
Fantastic.
we can have a list for you.
Fantastic.
Good. And hopefully terminus will be 7th.
I refer you to agenda item 14 earlier when we said, well done the Town Rangers.
I'll pass it on to you.
18, correspondence.
Sorry, can I have a vote on the bus shelter?
Yes, sorry.
For being 7th.
It's proposed, seconded, that the one in the middle of Terminus Road becomes number 7 on the list. All those in favour? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While we're at it, can I say that could be number 8?
No. No. Next meeting, February.
I'll look forward to the next
We're
meeting.
doing
When
odd
the Town
numbers this
Rangers
year.
tell us that your one is actually the low.
Could I just add that there was a motion that Councillor Pym put forward that the Town Rangers should investigate London Road to see what they could do about the whole of London Road. So you might want to resurrect that motion.
Because we were asked what
Yes.
the Rangers should concentrate on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we did say that London Road is the main thoroughfare into the town, and it just doesn't look very nice at the moment.
No.
But they've been concentrating in the Sidley area, so no doubt when they get their time, they will work
18,
down.
correspondence and matters. There were none. 19, questions from councillors and future agenda items. There are apparently lots of questions from the last meeting, and they've been answered individually. And of course, in line with what happened or what was circulated last month at Main Council, this will no longer be an agenda item of questions from councillors and future agenda items. Because future agenda items, we just put in motions or we ask for it anyway.
Yep.
Which brings me to item 20, date of the next meeting, which is Wednesday the 4th of February 2026. All motions must be received by the 23rd of January. And with that, I'll close this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.